Hello friends, this is a VR coming at you. So James at Elite Hunters asked us to submit a VR with the title Hey Saul, Why I Like Vintage, and to share a couple of reasons why we like collecting vintage cards. So for me, I'm going to go with two of the many reasons since he said keep it to two. But the first two that come to mind is, I would say it's kind of nostalgia, and it is just memories and good feelings. This was a Christmas gift from my mom, so I was probably 11 or 12 when I got this card. Never traded it, never intended to. When someone gives you a gift, you keep it. So that has always been my thought. So I do have several cards from childhood, particularly if they were gifts. So that one just takes me back to being a little kid and remembering opening that up and being just beyond thrilled that my mom opted to get me a Hank Aaron card. Next one actually was also a similar. These were cards I probably wouldn't have afforded, except obviously this one's been trimmed. So we found a lot of, I think it was like 41 different 39 play ball cards. Hank Greenberg. And there was a Hank Greenberg, there was a Lefty Gomez, there was a whole bunch of commons, and somehow in the list of commons, they missed Archie Vaughn, so I actually got 3 Hall of Famers. And there's a few, good players in that, but so I have I have a decent chunk of the set actually in a trimmed format. How crazy is that? But that takes me back to, that was another one my mom got me for Christmas. This next one is actually from the National, probably in that gap of years between kind of like college and being early married, where I had $0 extra dollars. My brother-in-law came by and said, I'm going to hit the National Card Show. And I was like, I didn't know what that was. I mean, I kind of stopped collecting before I would have been into that. I knew local card shows, but a national, what's that? So luckily, living close enough to Chicago, we just hauled on down there, 4 or 5 of us in his car. My dad came along, actually. They were friends. So as we're walking through, this card was there. And it was one that, I knew of pre-wars and whatever else, and I probably thought this was like $1 million card. I'm trying to think of what year that would have had to have been. I mean, early 2000s, so it was way before lots of different booms. It was before eBay was really significant. So, happened across a dealer, he had this thing. It was like $195, I think. I was looking at it with my dad. I was like, geez, that's a really cool card. I thought that would be a whole lot more expensive. And he's just looking at it. He's like, I think that's a good deal. I said, seems like it, but I mean, back then that would have been a car payment. I wasn't going to sacrifice a car payment. He's like, well, why don't we go ahead and do that one today? So it was always my dad's style. He wouldn't say, here's $200, go spend it. But if he could tell you liked it every so often, he'd go ahead and make things happen for you. So that was a really cool memory from a National. But that's what cards do. That's what the hobby does. It gives you that sentimental memory. You remember the moment. You remember the Christmas morning. You remember the experience with your friends. You all these different things. So for me, that's probably the biggest component, and that's what the YouTube community has done for sure. The other component, I think sometimes you do pick up cards, and DiMaggio and Aaron and Greenberg obviously are significant, but sometimes you pick up things just because you're like, it is a cool, scarce, something I've never seen. It's something that's unique, but it has this component of being like artistic. So I was looking through my collection. Some of them, you pick up because they're the standards and what you do. But I mean, that's a common player. Tom Needham. It's a T213, so it's not a T206, even though it looks the same. some unique qualities to it. The writing at the bottom, a lot of times they're different colors. The backs obviously are going to be a little bit different, but that's one that when I see that, I'm just like, that is really neat. If I'm going to get something from that set, and a lot of these, they'll have the big Hall of Famers, but they're super premium priced. So you just pick one up that you think is cool. That has such an artistic quality to it. I really enjoy that. Another one I've shown that I always say is, maybe it's not the prettiest card ever, but it's a great looking card. I get the Connie Mack. That is a E96 Connie Mack. So what a great representation. I mean, the detail, the clothes, the tie, parting of his hair, all the stuff. It's just such a neat thing. And then you get the entire list on the back. If that's going to come in for us or not, I don't know why I'm catching issues with clarity here on this one, but lots of reflecting on these darn SGC cases. But you get the entire list of who's in the set, and only 30 cards in the entire set, so that's always a neat one. I just think that's super artistic and cool looking. This other one I actually grabbed, literally, I think I have 2 cards of him, and he's a Hall of Famer, but one checks the list. I did one of every Hall of Famer, but when I saw that, I was like, I love these E-sets. The caramel cards from that era are just so great. But what a fantastic image. The colors, the offset, the colors, I can't decide if it's brilliance or tacky. The background color with the red is just such a clash, but for whatever reason, I just love that. I think that's fantastic looking. And what he's wearing, super cool. Clark Griffith was such a huge impact on the game in more than just a way of being a good pitcher. So all of his status is, management, ownership, evolution of baseball, significant figure. But for me, the artistic quality of this card was just fantastic. So absolutely love it. So that is what I have. I've picked those 2 as my biggest reasons. The sentimental nostalgia aspect definitely brings back great memories, and then just kind of the artistic, unique, kind of one-of-kind feel to a lot of the, especially the older cards, the vintage pre-war kind of eras. They're really, really cool. So that is my submission. Hopefully that is fun, and we'll see y'all on the next video. Take care.